live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the most interesting stream of the night. We got developments that we're going to talk about. In the meantime, thank you for the super chat, Zlixian. U.S. chides NATO because they are not spending the agreed amount on defense. NATO then starts spending more money on defense to spite the United States. No, okay. I think what's happening, if you look at the prism of history, you realize that Germany is a nation that absolutely loves military. And throughout history, a lot of Germans were incredibly capable military commanders. You know, say what you want about the Nazis, but the ability of a country in the middle of the continent to conquer the huge chunk of land that they did is an accomplishment. Like, other people wouldn't be able to do it. Like, Romania wouldn't be able to do it, right? So, the Germans, they have, like, some of the best tacticians in the world. And even in the American Revolution, I think, I'm not mistaken with this, some of the greatest generals that you had, like, had a little bit of German blood in them. And this is the same when Romania decided to get a German king, Karol the Hohenzollern. His lineage actually created the Great Romania. Like, we started gaining victories. We got our nation forged with him, right? So, like, Germans are really good. Really, really good when it comes to warfare. They gain victories. Except when they're fighting the Russians. That doesn't work well. But the thing is, like, after starting 2 world wars, people said, maybe you guys shouldn't. Maybe you should chill the fuck out. And so this is why NATO was created. Now, since then, the German pride, I guess, which is what their politicians want, is to recreate the military. And so this is an excellent opportunity. The conflict in Ukraine is an excellent opportunity for them to try and recreate their own military. And they can't do it because of, I think it may be their constitution and certain, like the international pressure on them. So what they want to do is they want to finance France and Britain to create a military. But the problem is, like, he who holds the coin purse actually holds the say, right? So, like, this thing with Ukraine and nations pumping into defense, it's basically like trying to create a European army. So, like, if the European Union gets an army, then it actually does become a state, and then it can actually punish member states like Hungary, member states like Poland when they misstep, or member states like Ukraine. They can punish militarily. Like for instance, the situation of Brexit in the UK. Like let's say it happens in another nation. Let's say it happens in Greece. Like, theoretically, there's nothing stopping the EU to say, yeah, we don't recognize the referendum. We think that you have extremists in charge. We're going to send pacification troops, I mean, basically, this already happened in history with the United States. Like, the Civil War, right? Like, you had, at the end of the day, the Civil War, if you take away the ideology, it's some states wanting to leave the Union, right? Now, I know that the cope is, well, yeah, like, it's slavery and whatnot, but like, let's say it wasn't slavery, right? Let's say slavery was abolished, and some of the states from the U.S., the southern states, just want to go, you know what? We want to go our own way. We just don't want to be with the feds anymore. We just want to create our own union. Do you think that would be allowed? Like, do you think Washington would allow that? Obviously not, right? This is what happens when you have a military, and this is what happens when you have disagreements. It's not good. I don't think, like, it's even possible today for states to leave the Union. Hungary, Poland, etc. need to get the fuck out of the European Union. There's a lot of reasons why they can't. It's actually very, very difficult to leave. The only nation that left was Britain, and it did so because it was incredibly wealthy. But as you can see, the Brits, they left the European Union, but they still maintain the European Union policies. Like that shit with the bottle cap that literally frustrates me to no avail. That exists in the UK as well, from what I understood. You gotta take into account the European Union is absolutely amazing if you're a wealthy person. Like, if you're a wealthy person working in the government, there is no reason why you would dislike the European Union. And so this is why most nations are not leaving. Like, they like the perks. Legal Mindset said thank you and that he will contact you. That's so nice. Again, like, my animator is from Spain, and he is struggling financially. Like, his parents are sick. He lives in a small apartment. He may lose his apartment because his parents are in debt. Like, this is not something that he personally did. And so he's looking for work, and he's really talented. Like, I really like the job that he does. He works fast. He works good. And so I want to find him work. And if Legal Mindset wants a rig to be done, then my animator is going to get on the job. California, Washington, and Oregon are already considering petitioning Canada to join. Not going to happen. Again, Canada joining the United States, if it would ever happen, it would probably take a couple of decades. And you would need Canada to be incredibly poor, impoverished, and you need to pump a lot of propaganda into it. And maybe then, but then you would get like a poor and impoverished state. I don't see it, because like Canada's entire culture is basically, we're not the United States, and so it's going to be very difficult to convince them to become a state. And I don't think that the U.S. probably wants Canada as a state either. Even though, like, from the outside, right, like looking at the situation from the outside, you guys are very similar in culture. Like, you would be able to assimilate quite fast. But it is what it is. They want to join Canada? Oh, sorry, the other way around. So hold on. I misread. California, Washington, and Oregon want to join Canada. I think that's a LARP. Like, this is a nice LARP, but like the actual people, I don't think they do. I like, and even then, right? Like, even if they want to join, I don't think the United States would allow it. Again, like, after the United States Civil War, I think leaving the Union is off the table. Still, like, you never know who's in charge and what they're going to do. Africa is going to be really safe in a couple of years after all the African criminals move to Europe. This is actually something that I witnessed in my country. So, in the 90s, crime in Romania was incredibly rampant. Pickpocketing was really bad. Like, I remember walking in the bus, and I had to, like, constantly hold my hands in my pockets to feel my wallet at all times, because I didn't trust that someone is not going to pickpocket me. I always wanted to sit down. Like, even if there was a lady standing, I wouldn't offer her my seat, because I was sitting down so I don't get pickpocketed, you know? And so, like, crime was really, really bad. But then when the European Union opened its gates, all of a sudden crime dropped. Because the thieves realized that it's a lot easier to steal outside. And not only that, right? If you go into a foreign nation and you do pickpocketing and you get caught, you get deported, right? And so if you're in your country and you get caught, you go to jail. So, like, the criminals aren't morons. Like, they do risk assessment. And so they realize that, well, it's a lot cheaper it's a lot more beneficial to rob in other places. Well, off the table without another war. A lot of people are really worried, man, about another war right now. There's, like, tensions in Taiwan and in the South China Sea. The whole shit show with Ukraine. A lot of people are afraid that from a regional conflict, it can turn into a bigger one. So it is what it is. All the pickpocketers went to London. No, I think they went to a lot of places. I think they went to Germany, to Spain, to London. Like, they really didn't care. Aging population helps decrease crime. Not really. I mean, technically it should, right? But, like, the thing with crime is that you don't need, like, 100% of people to do it in order to notice it. Like, it's sufficient that 5% of the population commits crime on a regular basis so that you do notice a huge problem, right? And so, like, even if the majority of the population is old, there's still always enough young people to be cheeky little shits. Canada has a lot of space like Australia does. Most of it's unusable wasteland. Is it though a wasteland? Like, again, I've never been to Canada, but like, why can't you build there? Like, can't you build tenants and apartments and create logistics in order to house people? Like, I know, like, a lot of the land isn't farmable, so... the Prime Minister of Poland wants every man to undergo compulsory training. Well, the thing with Poland, historically, it's in a really bad spot. It's trapped between the Soviets and the Nazis, right? They have like historical experience with that. And so the Poles, they want to be a regional power. They're becoming an extremely wealthy nation, and because of that, it's a very appealing nation. And they want to have a strong military in order to defend themselves. I don't think like Poles are going to be the ones that do the first attack, but you can't really blame them after what happened to World War II. And so like the Poles have right now one of the best economies in Eastern Europe. I think in the future they may even surpass other European nations. And so if Poland would ever manage to unite with Ukraine, and I think like that's their hope, to create like a Polish-Ukrainian alliance, they would become a nation that can rival Germany in its economy. And so they're probably like wanting military in order to be able to defend their stuff, right? So I don't think like they're using compulsory military training to go to war. They just want to normalize the idea of getting civilians to be used with the with the concept of military. You gotta understand, like in Romania, I never went to conscription, right? Like before my time, every Romanian had to serve at least 6 months in the military, kind of like in Israel, right? And I think like if you didn't go to a university, you had to serve for 1 year, and that was removed before I had to enlist. But ever since it was removed, Romanians are terrified of guns. Like, if you are to put a gun in front of me right now, even if it's unloaded, it's got like an aura of dread for me. Like, it's something scary. It's something to be afraid. And what I'm experiencing is what most Romanians experience. I remember, like, when I went to London and I saw, like, the police in the airport with the military gear and the SWAT gear and their little Uzis or whatever the fuck they are, machine guns, right? It was incredibly scary, even though they were there to offer my protection. Like, the very fact that I would see them, it made me uncomfortable. And I'm like a person that's pro Second Amendment, right? Like, I'm one of the few Romanians that I pro Second Amendment, but even though I'm like that, I still get afraid of guns. And so, like, this is why the compulsory military training is necessary, because if there was a conflict, it would be very difficult to get past this mental block that a lot of people have. You know, like, they never saw a gun in their entire life. They view it as an instrument of death. Even, like, just sitting on a table, it causes the aura of dread. So, yeah. I've been to Uganda, which is nice for an African nation, but there was a legit huge shanty town, and pickpockets and purse snatchers are everywhere. I think you're describing Spain. Anyway, let's listen to Radio Free Europe. Isn't this like one of the places that was getting US aid? Anyway, with Călin Georgescu electoral disqualification, Romania could be in for a rocky ride. To some, Călin Georgescu is a dangerous populist. To others, he is a fearless champion of anti-establishment causes. I love the fact that they don't say, well, for others, he is just a tool to annoy and destabilize the system. See, like, this is a mentality that was formed in my country, and unfortunately, the press just doesn't fucking get it. Like, they don't understand why people vote for candidates like this. Imagine if in the United States, you only have the Democrat Party, right? Like, there's no more Republican Party, so you only have the Democrat Party now. And you have to vote for a Democrat no matter what, right? And so what you do is you vote for Christian. And you're like, well, why would you vote for Christian? It doesn't make any sense, right? Like, Christian is incompetent. He would not be able to rule a nation. Like, that's precisely the point. Because what do the Democrats do? They pass laws that tax you further. They pass laws that constantly restrict your liberties. So by voting for Christian, he is incompetent. He can't pass those laws. He doesn't know what laws to draft. He doesn't, like, right? And so you finally get legislation stability. Like, there's no more laws to fuck with you. And all the other Democrats, now they're fighting with Christian. Now they're dealing with his Spurgout. They're busy fighting with him. So they're leaving you alone. This is why you vote for the extremist candidate. This is why you vote for the clown to the circus. Is to destabilize. Because the people that think that the current establishment is there to fuck with them non-stop, well, you vote for the new guy. Because there is a small chance, like, even if the new guy is bad, there is a small chance that the new guy isn't going to fuck with you. But the established politician, you know for sure, you're absolutely certain that they're going to fuck with you. And so you're voting for the outsider, right? Because like you're thinking like, and I see this with Democrats unable to understand, and they're like, well, Trump is doing this and he's bad, and Trump is doing this, that, and he's bad. Why'd you vote for him? It's because like I was absolutely convinced beyond the shadow of a doubt that if Joe Biden won, things would be bad. But at least with Trump, you have a chance that maybe he's not going to fuck you, you know? And so this is a new way of voting that has manifested in my country. Which I don't think the media has fully grasped yet, right? So when they start saying, it's like, oh, but don't you know that this candidate has said bizarre shit, that he doesn't believe in the moon landings, that he... No one cares. You know, oh, that he believes that the water is more than H2O, and no one gives a fuck. That's precisely the point. Because he's batshit insane, people want to vote for him. Like, because he says these extremist things that make no sense. Yes, like, he's the perfect man for the job. So to repel vampires, you hold a gun, not a cross? Depends on the type of vampires. Like with some in their mythos, a cross works. In more recent, like in Blade, the crosses don't work. We went for the lesser evil to the funniest clown shows. Yes. Yeah, pretty much. That's literally it. It's like the lesser evil, it still passes legislation. It still tries to increase my taxes. It still causes inflation. It still fucks with your lifestyle, right? And so the clown is incompetent. The clown doesn't know how to fuck with my life. The clown doesn't understand that. And the clown causes disruption. There is also something interesting when you look at how the government is formed. The government isn't like one institution that works unanimously. The government is formed of different factions. Like, for instance, in the United States. In the you would say, okay, well, the United States is a two-party system, right? Like, you got the Republicans and you got the Democrats, and that's it. Wrong. That is completely wrong. In the Republican Party, you have different factions. You have the neocons. You have the MAGA people. You got libertarians, right? Like, there's like various factions. And even within the factions, there are other smaller factions. For the different levels of interest, like some are there to grift, some are there generally because they're patriots and they want to do stuff for their country. And so, when you look at the government like Game of Thrones, where there's like various factions with competing interests, the only time that it's really bad for the people, the only time when it's really bad for the citizens is when all the factions get along with each other. When the factions get along with each other, then they start to plunder the people. Then they start to exploit the people. The best government is when the factions hate each other, when they hate their guts. Because when that happens, they're focused amongst each other. So to answer to Short Fat Otaku, he was wondering, it's like, why did I believe that the first time the elections were unfair when it was Joe Biden, and now the elections were fair when it was Trump? It's because when it was Joe Biden, all the factions were in agreement. Everyone was in unison. Everyone was like, fuck Donald Trump. From the artists, to the media, to the politicians, to the FBI, to the Department of Homeland Security. Everyone was on the same page. Fuck Donald Trump, right? What do we notice now when Donald Trump won the elections? Well, Kamala Harris came in and she says that she wants to tax unearned income, unearned gains. She wants to raise the taxes. She was going to fuck with big businesses. And so all of a sudden, the factions aren't in alignment anymore. Zuckerberg, Bezos, Elon Musk, you know, the rich, the elites. Well, not all of them were on the side of Kamala Harris. And so now you have, social media that doesn't show unity. You now have, like, Trump's message being propagated on Twitter. That's what happens when the factions don't work with one another and you have, like, conflict. All of a sudden, the people aren't being fucked with as much. Another great example of this was during the pandemic. Like, during the pandemic in Romania, there was conflict between the factions. And some factions were like, we need more pandemic measures, we need people to be vaccinated more, and other factions were like, no, we need to lift all of this. We need to resume the economy. We need to do what DeSantis did. And so because of that, Romania, the pandemic measures were bad, but they were nowhere near as bad as Britain. They were nowhere near as bad as Canada. So this unity is actually good. Yeah, like this unity is very good for the smart people. What do you think about Musk and right-wing commentators supporting CG? Seems like they are trying to protect are trying to project American politics onto our country. I think like every international community, like every superpower tries to project its politics and its values onto other countries. America specifically is a crusader country. China is not a crusader country, right? And I'm bringing China in order to create a difference. A crusader country like wants to export its values onto the rest of the world. So you can see the United States, when it was under Bush, it was trying to export Christianity into Africa, right? Like it sent missionaries there. It was like, look, you're getting aid, but you're also having to read the Bible. If you don't read the Bible, we're not digging a well, right? Like that was the Bush mentality. After that, you have the woke. And the woke, they go to Africa and they're like, we're going to help you build a bridge here, but first tell us about homosexuality. Like, what have you done for the gays today? I'm not even kidding. That like literally part of USAID was to teach about homosexuality in Ghana, right? And you have like Hillary Clinton discussing homosexuality in Uganda. She was like really into it, and someone from the audience asked her about the economy and the war in Ukraine, and that seems to like really inconvenience her. The war in Ukraine, I think at the time, was Crimea. But like that really upset her. It's like, well, I need to talk about something else than homosexuality. What? You know? And so America is a crusading country. Like it constantly wants to export its values on the rest of the world. Some of the values are good, others are cancer. In the case of J.D. Vance wanting to export free speech and wanting to export democracy, I think that's a good thing. Now let's look at it this way, right? The United States is investing a lot of money in Eastern Europe, right? Like the only thing that it wants from us is military geopolitical strategy, right? Like they want the largest airport base in NATO to be in Romania. Like that's a huge investment. I think like we also have a drone factory, if I'm not mistaken, and chances are that Elon Musk may want to invest as well. Now put yourself in their shoes, right? Like put yourself in the shoes of an investor. You're putting money in another country. Do you want that country to have stability, or do you want that country to become like Brazil, right? Where you're Elon Musk, you're investing a lot of money into Starlink, you're investing a lot of money into X, and then Brazil on a whim decides to fuck with you. And you're losing all the investment, you're losing all the money. You don't want that shit, right? So like from their perspective, it makes sense. It's like, make up your mind, tell us who you vote for, show us that you're a democracy with a stability and a predictable future so that we can invest with you. If you don't want that, we'll fuck off. You know, like America is not going to bring their tanks here to force us to be a democracy. But if we constantly choose not to play ball, they're taking their toys and they're fucking off. And honestly, we would probably do the same. Like if we were to invest in other nations, right? Like if we were rich enough in order to invest into other nations, we would demand the same thing of them. It's like, show us that you have stability, because we don't want to pump in billions of dollars and then for you guys to flip and we lose our investment. So I don't think that what America is doing is unreasonable. And it's the same with the European Union, right? Like the European Union was talking about banning X and fucking with Elon Musk's businesses. And it's like, wait, hold on a little bit. Like one of the things that the Americans, and I know for sure they're pissed off about it, is that the European Union decided to go to war with social media. So they decided to go to war with Facebook, with Twitter, with Google. This is like even before all of this shit show. And the question is like, why doesn't the European Union have its own social media? And the reason is because of GDPR and other bureaucracy and other bullshit, right? And so they're using the American social media. But they're upset because they can't tax the American social media because it's not built in Europe, right? So they can't put taxes on the American social media. So what they do instead is they constantly fine the social media, right? So like they create bullshit laws like, oh, you gotta remove all extremist content within an hour. It's like, motherfucker, that's unreasonable. Like, you have millions of posts per minute, and you want to remove extremist stuff, which again is like very vague, very ambiguous, within an hour. Okay, they don't manage to do that. So now they're getting fined, right? And that fine operates like a tax. And of course the Americans are pissed off. It's like, hold on a little bit. What the fuck is this shit? You know, you have Britain coming up and saying, oh yeah, we're going to ban legal but harmful speech. It's like, what the fuck is that? How can you even predict what's legal but harmful? Like, make a law and decide what illegal speech is, make it very clear so that the social media companies can operate without getting fined, right? So, like, no, the Americans absolutely have a point. And then there's also, like, the moral thing. Like, if the American people are going to use their taxpayer money in order to donate to other places, well, it's one thing when they're supporting, like, a similar country with similar values and belief systems like them, and it's another thing when they're supporting fascism, which the European Union seems to want to go towards. And when I say fascism, I mean the Chinese system. Because I don't see the European Union criticizing China anymore. Like, all the newspapers, all the publications, non-stop criticism towards America. Did you notice that shit? No, seriously, if you're in Europe, did you notice that? Like, everyone is criticizing Donald Trump. Let's do it like this, you know? Like, take a notebook, and every single time you open the television, whether you're from Norway, Britain, whether you're from... It doesn't matter. Sweden, right? Any country in Europe, Germany especially, have like on your notebook a little line whenever Trump is criticized, and do a dash, and then do a dash whenever Chairman Z is criticized. And you're going to see that they're almost never criticizing China at all, but they're constantly criticizing America, just not fucking stop, day in and day out. And it's like, well, hold on a little bit, whose side are you on? I can understand why the Americans may be a little bit upset, you know? And then you have the European Union, well, actually Britain mostly, but even the EU, right? Like, they're trying to influence American elections by promoting the Democrats. And it's like, okay, you failed. How do you think Trump feels about it? Like, put yourself in his shoes. Like, you literally campaigned for his opposition, and now he's the president. How would you feel about it? Oh, you didn't like it when Elon Musk... You know, Elon Musk didn't even do that much. Like, he showed some support to the AFD, and, you know, he did a couple of speeches at interview. But the EU was freaking out like it's the worst thing ever. They did a lot more in the United States than what Elon Musk did in Germany. Just refuse to pay fines, badass then. Oh, then they seize your assets. The businesses aren't ideological. See, like a lot of people are ideological until you actually start your own business and you start investing. And then you realize, oh, okay, well, I mean, I could play hardball, but what if I lose? Euros are trying to isolate the US. This is actually quite hilarious because, in my opinion, the European Union is the isolationist one, right? And what I mean by this, the European Union doesn't like Russia. And I understand that, you know, like that's fair enough. Okay, they don't want to deal with Russia. All right. They don't like China. I mean, again, they're not bad-mouthing China, but they don't like it either. Like, the constant, like, decoupling from China. We want to decouple, like, just nonstop talks about that. Again, I can understand why you don't like China. That's fair. But now they don't like America either. And so the question is, like, who the fuck do you like? Like, you need to start, like, in a normal, healthy mindset, and I'm telling you this as Romania that was a nation trapped between, like, 4 big empires. In a normal and healthy geopolitic, you shouldn't allow morality to muddy the national interest. And you should play all these powers, all these regional powers against each other to your benefit. Like, this is how my country survived, being trapped between the Ottoman Empire, the Russian Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, right? The Polish Empire. Like we were trapped between empires, and the only way we survived is by playing the empires against each other. And this is how the European Union should do politics. They should negotiate constantly. But apparently they're not interested, and so it is what it is. Like it seems that what they did was to copy-paste America's foreign policy. And usually America's foreign policy is good, but sometimes, you know, it may not be the same as yours. Like, sometimes it may go against your interests. Thank you for your bottle cap rant. When I was in Romania in 2023, those things made me want to throw the entire bottle on the ground as litter just to protest. Most annoying, useless thing ever. So, okay, if you look, for those of you who don't know, I'll explain the bottle cap rant again. And I'll give you my assessment on what I think has happened, right? Why this is a thing. Like, it's interesting if someone can confirm or deny if my hypothesis is correct or not. So, in the European Union, all bottle caps for bottles that are less than 3 liters, they have to be like this. So like, they remain attached to the bottle. You can rip them off if you want, but it's annoying, right? Like, it's, again, a lot of people that cope for the EU, it's like, well, it's not so difficult. You can. Yep, I know I can. But like, why is some asshole trolling me? It's the principle of the matter. Do you understand principles? Like, are you a civilized person to understand principles? Like, there is no rational reason for some asshole that doesn't even know who I am to put these little inconveniences in my life. And he's doing it with my taxpayer money. Like instead of making my life easier, they're adding like these little trolling things. It's annoying. Like, when you try to drink from the bottle cap prevents you from doing that. If you forget that the bottle cap is there, you spill the thing. Like, it's genuinely annoying. And so, what I think happened. Well, first, like, hold on. Let's explain the official reasoning. The official reasoning is that this is saving the planet, right? Like, again, Earth would be destroyed like planet Krypton if people keep throwing the bottle caps away. Like I am led to believe that during the pandemic, where everyone was forced to wear a mask that had microplastics, that was good for the planet. But this is too much, right? Like, the bottle cap, like, people can just throw the bottle cap away, and this causes pollution. When in reality, again, in my opinion, someone that would throw the bottle cap away, they would probably throw the entire bottle away as well. But whatever. Now here's what I think happened, and I really want to know, like, if anyone has knowledge of this, please tell me if I'm right or wrong. Some fucktard came up with the invention, right? Like, some fucktard thought, wouldn't it be cool if the bottle cap was actually tied to the bottle? And he probably went to various companies and tried to sell his invention, right? Like, he patented it. And went to companies, it's like, hey, what do you think of this? And the companies told him nicely to go fuck himself. Because the companies realized that the customers would hate this shit. Like, if a soda drink tried to do this by itself, it would go out of business because it's really annoying and antagonistic. Like, customers wouldn't put up with it, right? And so they told him to go fuck himself. So what he did is he went and lobbied the European Union. And now every company is forced to use his invention. And I think that person is making a lot of money. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a German or an Austrian. Again, this is just my hypothesis. I have no evidence of it. But I am so dying to know if I'm right or not. Like, am I striking the iron while it's hot? I am going to do some research. If not, I'm going to pay someone for research to actually find the history behind the fucking bottle cap. Because, again, it's pretty much like the envision of the European Union, right? Like, the enlightened ones that have to micromanage every single fucking aspect of our life, including the shape of a banana and the bottle cap to our... Like, it's insane. And I have the feeling that it's a grift. A German woman? I don't know if it's a German woman. This shit made me want to rip the cap from every bottle and toss it away before I always throw the bottle away with the cap. The thing is, like, even if you do that, nothing will change. Like, from my knowledge, the European Union very, very rarely backs down on one of its decisions. Right? So, like, once something like this is enabled, it very rarely reverts. And the people from Brussels, they don't fucking care. Like, they don't know if you're throwing the bottle away in Romania. the Romanian government is forced to enforce the law for the European Union. And so even if they were like to wake up with ball caps on the street, they don't really care. There's probably some kickback to a Euro bureaucrat. Well, obviously, right? Like after the one hand scratches the other. And so you end up with this being installed, and the person that makes a lot of money, then they donate to the bureaucrats' campaign, to the politicians' campaign, and it is what it is. Regulations only increase, never decrease. Yeah, that's true. Pay dev to do the research? So anyway, let's talk a little bit about the European Union. Now, the reason I call it the EU cope, and I noticed like this really weird cope that works on people, and I don't fucking know why. The first cope that I noticed was with the woke. And the woke idea is that unless we oppress people, unless we thought police, we're going to get fascism. And so you're asking them like, well, what's the problem with fascism? Why is it bad? Well, because they thought police and they oppress people. And you get mindfucked when you hear the explanation. It's like, okay, so because you don't want a regime that oppresses people and thought policing, you're going to thought police and oppress people. Right? Like, does that make any sense? Another example is that the woke are authoritarians. And then you get certain individuals, certain groups on the internet, and it's like they're proposing a society that's authoritarian as fuck. And it's like, why are you doing this? To fight the woke. So because the woke are authoritarians and you don't like that, your solution is for the society to become authoritarian. Right? Like, the Russians. Why are the Russians bad? They're authoritarians. They don't have a democracy. They're authoritarian people. What does the European Union do? Cancel elections. Like, I just don't get it, man. Like, someone probably can explain it to me so that it makes sense. But like, okay, so my favorite point is like, we save democracy by shutting it down. I mean, by this logic, you know, the communists could have been democratic. Like all Ceausescu had to do was to allow, I don't know, like 3 people to run against him. And whenever one of them got too high in the polls, he would stop the election, get that person to step down, say that he is polluted by Western influences, and then have the election done again until he wins. Right? And all of a sudden, it's a democracy. I'm not even... And what's interesting, like this is fascinating, right? I'm not a fan of Georgescu, but like every single other presidential candidate right now is saying that Georgescu should be allowed to go to the ballots and the people should vote. Right? Every single candidate that I can think of. Like, if there's one that didn't say that, let me know. But for some reason, when a citizen is saying it, immediately, so you're with the Russians. I mean, if we reached the level where I say, I don't think elections should be cancelled in my country, and that makes me with the Russians, well, who the fuck are you with then? And what exactly can the Russians do that's worse than what's already been happening? The Russians haven't cancelled elections. Well, they have, after World War II. But like in recent years, the Russians haven't cancelled elections in my country, right? This reminds me of the pandemic as well, right? Like, we need to do bad shit happening to you. We need to get bad shit to happen to you, because otherwise, the virus, right? Like, during the pandemic, why is the virus bad? Well, because it can kill a lot of people and destabilize the economy. So, like, what is the solution? We need to destabilize the economy, right? It's like... And there's always a reason, right? Like, there's always a fucking reason. Like, during the pandemic, we need to put up with censorship. We need to put up with restrictions of liberties. Because otherwise, the virus. And if you're against the government, you're with the virus. And now it's literally the same shit. You gotta put up with censorship. You gotta put up with restrictions, because otherwise it's the Russians. I mean, to me, it's really wild to see that it actually works. Like, this type of rhetoric works on people. Like, look, I will fight the Russians, okay? I will fucking fight the Russians, but I don't know how I can fight the people that are canceling elections and shutting them down. I don't need people to protect me from the Russians. I will fucking fight them. I got no choice. I will fight the Russians. Just leave me the fuck alone. Stop helping. Just like, please, stop fucking helping. To some, Khalid Georgescu, dangerous populist, to others, fearless champion. He disqualified from the May 4th presidential election. I'm reading from Radio Free Europe, from Radio Liberty. The crisis has been brewing for a while, and Georgescu isn't the first far-right candidate who has been prevented from running on a Romanian election. This is another thing, right? Like, this is the second man. So, okay, Romania is creating a brand new democracy that never existed on planet Earth before, as far as I know. Like, please correct me and tell me any exceptions. But the way it works, right, is that apparently the Constitutional Court decides who gets to run and not. So they're looking at the polls. They're like, we're not going to let this person run. We're not going to let this person run. But we're going to have free election. Imagine in the United States, right? I mean, even they were pretending at least. But imagine in the United States, they would say, Joe Biden isn't allowed to run because of his statements that he made 6 years ago on a talk show where he is against guns. And because guns are in the Second Amendment, we cannot allow this person to represent the United States because he is against the Constitution. I think that even right-wingers would get upset if something like that happened. Like if SCOTUS came up and said, we're not allowing, even a Democrat, right? Like even someone that's from the opposite, we're not allowing him to run. Why? Because they would understand this creates a precedent. And in the future, right, like they could say, yeah, Donald Trump isn't running because of the Russian conspiracy, right? Like the Russiagate thing. And so, like, you would have a system where the Supreme Court is basically deciding which candidate they allow and which ones they don't allow without any due process, without, the candidate being able to argue his case, without... What type of democracy is this? And again, it's not about Georgescu, because a lot of people are focused on him. Like, can you guarantee to me that this isn't going to happen in the next elections? Or in the elections after that? No, you can't. And this is the concerning part. And then it's like people are, well, why are the Americans getting involved? Well, because we're moving towards authoritarianism. To be fair, in Russia, you don't have to cancel elections. If the candidates tend to get arrested, eat poison, or fall from windows. It is true, yes. Like, this is what a hybrid democracy is called, right? And you get to notice it in other places on Earth. Russia is one of them. I don't think we're as bad as Russia, though. But the idea is that, okay, well, you have free elections. You're allowed to vote however you want. But whenever there's like a runner-up that has a chance in winning, well, all of a sudden some bad shit happens, Like all of a sudden they found out that he hasn't paid his taxes. All of a sudden they find out that he's guilty of corruption. It's just a couple of weeks before the elections. Because the idea is to allow the electorate to channel all their energy in a guy, and literally before the election, they remove that guy so that there's chaos on the other side. Isn't this 3 with Shoshaka woman and some other dude? No, it's just Shoshaka and him. The thing is, like, really interesting, because I don't think Shoshaka could have won. Like, although I can always be surprised. But I don't think, like, Shoshaka would have won. However, they wanted to create a precedent, right? Like, they wanted to get rid of a person that they know no one would defend, because she's Shoshaka, right? And so, once they created the precedent, then they moved to other people. Like, for those of you who don't know who Shoshaka is... This was during the pandemic. Like, she wore this mask as a sign of protest, right? Now, again, the main reason people vote for her is to destabilize the system. It's like when you notice that everything the government passes, every law that they pass, is to increase taxes, cause inflation, lower your liberties, then what you do is you send the clown, because the clown is incompetent. They can't do that. And what the clown does instead is it causes mayhem. Now, people are focused on the clown. Again, imagine voting for Christian in the Democrat Party, right? Like, you have to vote for a Democrat, and you're voting Christian, not because he's competent, but because you know he's going to do a bad job, and he's going to cause people being upset, and they're going to waste resources dealing with him, and they're going to leave you the fuck alone. Also, it's funny to watch. Don't tell me you wouldn't want to watch a debate between AOC and Christian. Like, that would be fucking hilarious. No one cared who she was until she put on the mask. By the way, I realized how to troll some of the people on Twitter. Like, there's a lot of people on Twitter that are incredibly aggressive, like extremely hostile. I don't even know, like, where they're from. Like, are they getting paid or some shit? But, like, you see a person with, like, 40 followers and 20 following. And they're insanely aggressive. They come up to you and it's like, oh, Russia is the aggressor. The orcs, we must defeat the orcs. Conquer Sauron. Do not stop the conflict. More bombs, more, you know? And I found out the way to troll them. And the way to troll them is, look, man, you don't have the cards. Now, if you make a deal with Trump, then you have the cards. But right now, you don't have the cards. You can't be a tough guy. You need to go make a deal. That pisses them off so fucking much. And then they go, it's like, oh, Trump is a clown. And I'm like, yes, he is the Joker. The Joker is the most powerful card in the deck. But you need to make a deal to get access to that card. Because right now, listen to me, right now, you don't have any cards. You don't have any cards. And there's pretty gods like, this is not a casino. That you don't understand. You think this is not a casino, but you're wrong. We are the world is not a casino. The universe is a casino, and Trump owns it. And if you're nice, if you make a deal, he will give you the cards. He can give you the card, but you gotta make a deal. You gotta go there, and you gotta make a deal. Dude, they're spurging out. Holy fucking shit. Like, it's so funny. You post one line, you hit enter, and then when you come back, you find like a big wall of text. Like, you don't understand. They're the aggressors. They're the one. The orcs. The orcs are coming. And it's like, you don't have the cards. You don't have the cards. You need to make a deal. No, but like, seriously, I am on the side of Ukraine. But these people that are so fucking aggressive, I think they're doing worse at farming international goodwill, especially with the MAGA movement. Like, they're going around, they're insulting Trump, and they're using all this hyperbole, and it's like, dude, it worked at the beginning, but you gotta change the talking points. You gotta sound more rational. If you, like, what are you trying to do? You know, like, are you trying to persuade people to be sympathetic to your cause? Or are you trying to be antagonistic and turn people away from your cause? If you're trying to be antagonistic, you're doing a great job. And then you're going to get trolled in return. They don't have the cards. We actually had this situation with a missing signature in Denmark in our last election, or the one that only just about everyone thought that the guy was an attention-seeking moron. I don't know about that. Explain why would talk about the dancing people of his Plato figured it out millennia ago. Justice is the will of the strong for the strong to get to decide what is moral and who is guilty. Also known as might makes right. It's difficult to disagree when you're looking at the world events, right? My country spent over $60 billion to Ukraine. You know what's interesting? When you actually look at the money, you notice that a lot of it probably didn't even reach Ukraine. Like, a lot of the money was grifted amongst the politicians. I think like there was an article in The Economist where it says like around 20% of the actual money that the United States ended up in Ukraine. Like a lot of that ended up in the Democrats and their cronies' pockets. And so, it's a grift. A lot of the things are grifting. I mean, look how rich the American senators are, and then look how much they're getting paid. Like, there's no fucking way like they're making all that cash based on the income that they're having as a senator, which is already ridiculously high. Ace 1918 challenged Short Fat Otaku to a discussion with him representing his detractors. What do you think? I think Dev might go. Yeah, I think Short Fat Otaku may go. I mean, he's always really big on I'm going to debate everyone. And he's upset that I'm not debating him anymore. And it's like, man, I left the Archcast because of you, because you were triggering me so fucking hard. And you are also saying that I'm interrupting you and I'm not listening to your points and I don't understand. You said, like, why would you constantly debate me? Like, we already debated more than 30 times. And every single time the chat was on my side. And then the argument is like, well, it's like, well, the chat doesn't know. It's like, okay, so like, because you think you won, does that mean that reality shifts in your favor? Because I think I won. The difference between you and me is that I have the chat on my side. What the fuck do you have? Nothing. Okay, then fuck off. I don't think Dev is doing well at debates. I think he's doing well at well thought out videos. Not gonna take that away from him. Like, he does like good research and shit. You know what Dev said about you? He said you're afraid to debate him. He can believe whatever he wants. But there are like so many Archcast episodes where I debated him. There are numerous Dungeons and Dragons episodes where I debated him. I think I've done my share of debates. If he thinks that I'm afraid of debating him, like, okay, fine. He can always pay me. You know, if I'm paid to debate him, I fucking will. You know, raise $200 and I'll debate him. Like, for $200, I'll debate him once. If he wants me to debate him again, I'll do it for another $200. And that way, at least I can justify why my sanity has to take a hit. Because his takes are so fucking cringe. It kills my neurons. And so if I have to put up with that shit, might as well get paid, right? I'm not afraid. No, seriously. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, if I'm paid, I will debate him. And he will get the super chats. Dev doesn't have the cards. He doesn't have the card. If he makes a deal with Trump, he would have the cards. See, the thing with insults is that they have to come from a person that you care about. Let me put it this way, right? I can understand why Dev doesn't like me. Fine. I can understand why Dev doesn't like Trump. I can understand why Dev doesn't like a lot of people. I don't understand why Dev doesn't like Sargon, though. Like, I'm telling you from behind the scenes. I know a lot of content creators. Especially, like, content creators that manage to get 1 billion subs and shit. All of them are arrogant pricks. With very few exceptions. Sargon is one of those exceptions. Like, he is really difficult to befriend. He's very paranoid. He's very, uptight. And I can understand. He comes from a fascist state. But once you get to be his friend, he's very nice. Like, and he helps out. Chat, I'm not even kidding. Like, if I was in financial distress right now, and I told Sargon, I need $10,000. Can you lend it to me? I think he would. I'm not even kidding. Like, he's that type of guy. Not to me, to his friends. And Dev's behavior towards him, I don't get it. Because, like, Sargon never did anything bad to him. Like, the only thing he did is, like, he disagreed on politics. But he didn't attack Dev, didn't say nasty thing about him, didn't talk behind his back, didn't do shit. And so, I generally don't get it. I don't fucking get it. Again, you don't have to believe me on this. You don't have to believe my take on Sargon's personality or whatnot. But from my point of view, I'm trying to explain why I'm bewildered over the fact that he decided to talk shit about Sargon. And it's just like weird. Because Dev is a follower. And the current meta in his circle of friends is Sargon bad? I don't even know who his current friend circle is. I don't fucking care. And you know what? I don't care about a person's political takes either. Like, I gotta say, me and Sargon, we probably drifted away ideologically way too fucking hard. The Sargon that I started watching and that I was enjoying the content was a cheeky little shit online that was trying to explain things from an average person's perspective. But when I watch the Lotus Eaters and he talks like an FAG, and he speaks in the fog language where he's like, the longhouse, we are entering into the lunar energy. And it's like, dude, come on, just fuck off. You're talking like a politician. And by the way, like, this is one of the reasons why me and Sargon are friends, because I can say this to his face and he doesn't get upset. And he probably understands that I'm right. Yeah, like, he went to philosophy university and he wants to talk like Christy Winters. That's great. But, like, it's not my type of content anymore. And just because we drifted away ideologically doesn't mean that me and him aren't friends anymore. And again, friends in the sense that we help each other. Like, if he was right now, if he was telling me, like, V, my computer broke down and I need $5,000, please help me, I'd be like, shit, I don't have $5,000, but I can give you two. You know? Like that is like the level of camaraderie that we've built, because, like, again, we are content creators. We've been talking to each other for more than 5 years now. Like, we've gone through various internet dramas and shit. And other content creators are like this too. And so, like, to see Dev, just, it's weird, man. It's very fucking weird. Remember, Sargon tried to be the mayor of his town. No, he didn't want to be the mayor of his town. He wanted to join the European Union. And to be fair, like, I don't think he could, because Tommy Robinson didn't manage either. And Tommy Robinson had a lot more support than Sargon. So, like, he never stood a chance. But still, yeah, like, he genuinely... The thing with Sargon, like, I spoke with him in the beginning, and, like, when I started talking to him, Britain was still a sane state. It was doing very well economically. It had low crime. It was a really nice place. It's really weird to think about that 10 years ago. But I was talking with Sargon, and he was worried because he's having a kid, and he doesn't want a kid to grow up in a bad place, right? Like, he was really interested in the culture. He didn't like the way feminism is authoritarian and is changing the laws of his nation and the morality and the culture. And so, like, he wanted to get involved and do something. And, like, maybe he reached for the sun and he tried to bite a little bit more than he can chew, sure. But in the end, he settled in opening his newspaper, and now he's a successful businessman, runs a newspaper, gives jobs to, I think, like a dozen people or so, because I've been to his newspaper, and behind the scenes, there were a lot of individuals working there. He's got, I think, 3 kids now. Did a university, he did very well for himself. He's a success story, in my opinion. Didn't manage to change the culture in Britain, but still. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, like, for his content, he has become a little bit pretentious. But that's fine, it's not my type of content, but it's other people's type of content. Like, other people enjoy watching the stuff that he is making. I personally don't watch the Lotus Eaters anymore, exactly because of what you said. It's very pretentious. So it's like, I prefer the shit talking, I prefer the banter, I prefer the people who like anime and don't think that it's satanic. Reform isn't welcoming enough to pull a manga. Probably not. I don't know. I think, like, the United Kingdom, the future is Pakistan. Exactly like that. And what I mean is, like, Pakistan is a nation that's not very wealthy, but it has nukes. And actually, I would think that Pakistan is superior to the United Kingdom, because at least Pakistan culturally doesn't hate its men. How's Short Fat Otaku draft petition going? I think, like, it was at around 1,500 people last time I checked. I'm not sure. I'll have to check again. Politically, he's become something of a British Matt Walsh. Again, I don't know. I guess. Personally, I think that even if Nigel wins, things are still going to be bad. I don't know what the situation for the UK is. To be honest, it's a place that's far away. I'm not even like trying to fill my mind with it. The problem with the UK is that it doesn't matter who wins as long as you have the civil service, right? So we saw with Liz Truss. Like Liz Truss was generally someone from that wanted to change things, and so she was ousted. And it's like, okay, well, and then they had an appointee, right? Which Mr. Sunak, which continued the same labor policies that we have today. You can say a lot of things about Carl, but in the end, he's a good man trying to do good things, minus the anime racism. Draft dev. Yeah, the anime racism is why I think right wingers are losing. Not the anime in particular, but the idea of being the fun police, right? Leave the fucking hobbies alone. Just leave them a fuck alone, right? Like, the moral majority in the United States lost because of that. And they lost with the atheism movement being born. And fucking the moral majority is so hard that even after decades, they haven't recovered. Because the moral majority didn't like heavy metal. The moral majority didn't like anime. The moral majority didn't like Dungeons and Dragons. The moral majority didn't like video games. And so people were fucking fed up. It's like, leave the fuck alone. Stop thought policing me. You know, judge people by their actions. If someone does something bad, sure. But if someone just fucking plays a video game, leave them the fuck alone. Fuck's your problem. And so they antagonize people. They pushed and they pushed and they pushed. And then they realized that when people pushed back, they were outnumbered 100-1. And they had to shut the fuck up. And then the woke started oppressing them. And no one cared because they were the oppressors before. And now the same shit is happening. The woke did the exact same fucking shit. That guy Tom is leaving the Lotus Eaters. Finally, that guy was the worst. The one with big ears. Is he the moralizing guy? I don't know them by the name, but it is what it is. Bully the weebs. You know, I genuinely think that the main problem with the internet is that everything is at the same place. Like, the internet used to be so fucking awesome when things were segregated, right? Because you would go on a forum, and that forum would have its own culture, its own lingo, its own behavior, and when you went to another forum, you couldn't bring that shit with you. Like, the other forum had different lingo, different culture. And so you would go in a place, and you'd talk anime, right? And then you'd go in another place, and you'd talk video games, and you'd go in another place, and you'd talk politics. It was separated. A couple of days ago, I was talking about the bouncing physics on the succubus tits. It was a very interesting conversation involving live today, rigging, as like, the best technology to make the succubus tits bounce. And all of a sudden, I get a chucklehead with a cross in his bio, like instead of the pronouns, he had like the cross emoji, accusing me of spreading Satanism and pornography to my viewers. And I'm like, why the fuck is this guy in my presence? Who invited him? Why the fuck is he here? Like, this is a mature conversation between adults. Why is he protruding in my space? Who the fuck let him in? I don't go into his space with my shit, right? Like, I don't find where he talks with his people so that I can decide to moralize and to push my views and my values onto him. So why can't he have the fucking respect and courtesy to reciprocate? Would he like it if I bring like 6 Gunners to his house and start shit-talking with his mom? No. So like, why the fuck is he doing that to me? Huh? Yeah, he was actually into furry porn. Like, that was also interesting. That was by the way. Because when you look at their timeline, every single fucking time, like the more out of their way they go in order to criticize other people, it's like a scale. And I think if they reach the scale of level 8, like level 8 moral busybody, that's when you look at their timeline and you find out that they have the exact same shit they're criticizing. And so, like, again, like, why the fuck was he in my presence? Who invited him, right? And this is what happens when the internet is all in one place. So fucking annoying. Evangelists have to do that. They believe they're commanded by God to save souls. Well, I don't fucking care. Like, we already started an atheist movement, and we believe that is our mission, to squash evangelicals and Christians wherever we find them. And apparently we were so successful that for decades Christianity laid low. Why they want to bring that again, I don't know. Like, let's just have like a truce, you know, like between Russia and Ukraine, between South Korea and North Korea. You guys do your thing over there, we do our thing over here, and let's keep it like that. I don't fucking come into your turf. I don't try to bring atheism into your shit. You don't bring your shit to me. And we're fine. We cohabitate, right? I'm not going to influence your kids. I'm not going to influence your family. I'm not, right? Like, I will respect you. You know, you go to church, you pray, you do all that stuff. You let me do my things over here. And we can be fine. But if you want to insist to be the problem, again, you're going to find out that you're outnumbered 100 to 1. Like, Melanie Mac now is declaring war on the anime Nazis. Fuck is wrong with her? Like, what is she thinking? I don't even care. That's not my car. You know, that's Nick Fuentes' car. Why is she picking on Nick Fuentes' car is beyond me. Like, what the fuck is she doing? Like, but whatever, you know, like, go have at it, girl. Fuck around and find out. I defended my car when she came at me, you know, like, I'm the entertainment car. I'm with the gamers. She fucked with my video games. We laughed at it, you know, we had a couple of videos. She was being lectured in her own comments by her own subscribers, and that was that. But apparently she wants more. Now she's going after the Nick Fuentes car. Other people have tried. What can I say? Maybe she's successful. I wish her the best. I'll pray for her. You know, do better. They pray as well, by the way. They're also religious. I understand. Melody Mac is insane. Well, like, you don't understand. Her subscribers, they're also deciding to wage war against the anime Nazis. It's like, you can't win this. Other people have tried. But anyway, right. Let me read some super chat. Bree, I'm turning my living room into a home theater gaming room. What gaming system do you recommend? I have an 8060V and Boss surround sound system. Oh my fucking god. Okay, if you really want a gaming system, I would recommend the PlayStation 5 with the VR2. Because it's cheap. Now, if you have a lot of money and you want to waste a lot of cash, the best gaming system is to buy an actual state-of-the-art PC and then buy the Valve headset for a Valve VR. And you can also buy like a little gaming chair with a wheel, depending on if you like card games and shit. But my advice is it's not worth it. It's 2025. The gaming industry is dead. There's no good games. There's nothing to play. And so I don't really know why you'd want to do that. But if you want to do that as a hobby, you know, because you want to do it to show off, yeah, that's what you can do. Just buy a PC, connect the PC to the TV, right? Like, buy a big-ass TV, buy a massive, like, okay, if you want to go all out, right? Like, you want to create the gaming thing, like something that no one else has. Buy an expensive 8K TV, right? So, like, an 8K TV that's big as a fucking wall. Then buy sound for that TV. Buy a computer that has, like, the state-of-the-art graphics cards, the ones that you need to have a power plant in order to function. And then put Doom on max, on 8K, and, like, that's going to blow your mind. Right? And have, like, a joystick or some shit so that you can stay comfortable. Like, that would be, like, the peak gaming room, probably around $10,000. But, like, no one else would have that. Right? Like, you would be the only one, and you can play the games that no one else wants to see. It doesn't matter if 8K isn't real. The cool shit is when you zoom in, and the graphic fidelity of it. Like, you can't tell the difference if the TV is literally the size of a wall. Like, if you have a massive television, you can't actually tell the difference between 4K and 8K. If you have a small TV, you can't tell. Like, there's no difference between 4 and 8. It will probably be able to run Crysis. I have an 8K, FPS are a problem. Well, it depends. Like, if you want to play competitively. So like if you want to play in multiplayer, then the graphics aren't important. What you want is high frame rate. So then you want a gaming monitor that has like really high frame rate. But if you're playing a single player and you just like want the experience, then going 8K with like a rig that's capable of performing at the 8K is what I would recommend. Yeah, the TV will show the Californian man jaw so sharp it will cut through steak. Anyway, right. Thank you guys for watching. Holy shit, 400 people. Oh my god. Thank you for showing up. I'll see you tomorrow, and in the meantime, I'll upload my videos on my other channels. Take care.